Okay, I think we'll just get started as people are joining. So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this guest lecture organized by Ojas Yoga and Wellness. So, before we start, I want to know from here who all are from India, who all are from Singapore. So, we have participants joining from Singapore, from India. So, just put it in chat box. So where are you joining from? And if you see on the screen, your name as my name, please change your name because I've just shared my Zoom link. So it just shows my name. Okay. So yeah, just put it in chat box from where are you joining? Okay. I think Mumbai, Pune, Singapore. Okay. Hi, Palak. Palak is our yoga teacher from Ojas Yoga, Pune. Okay. Yeah, so keep your messages coming. So again, I welcome you all and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining on Saturday afternoon. You could have done a lot of other things, but you chose to come here and learn something new. So I really appreciate your effort and time here. So our today's topic is astrology, an everlasting path to self-discovery and guidance. So Ojas Yoga and Wellness organizes, we are starting actually from this month. So this is our first guest lecture. So just a little bit short introduction about Ojas Yoga. So Ojas Yoga and Wellness, we have it's a yoga studio in Singapore. We do group classes, group private yoga therapy, back pain, knee pain, neck pain, corporate wellness, prenatal, kids yoga. So if you want any information, you want to join our classes, just connect with me later. Okay. And I'm Archana Amlapure. I'm a founder of Ojas Yoga and Wellness. I'm a yoga and wellness coach, and I've just published my book, Health, Happiness, Harmony. And that book is also available on Amazon. So with that, let's get started. So now if astrology, whenever we hear that sound, and it's been my notion as well, and I used to think astrology is knowing your future, I'm sure I've spoken to a lot of people also, and everybody, mostly people have this misconception, myth, or maybe misunderstanding. So let's hear today in today's session, let's know more about astrology, what it is exactly, and how we can use it in our daily lives. Or I mean, maybe Manoj and Vidyadhar sir can talk more about it, but how we can apply it to our personal life maybe. So I would like to introduce our two respected guests here. So first, Dr. Vidyadhar Ghesal has been in the field of astrology for last 55 years, more than maybe probably our age, most of us present here in this session today. Originally a banking professional, he decided to pursue astrology as a full-time profession after having experienced the power of the science. So he's known to be one of those very few in this field who have been able to add different scientific dimensions to original Vedic astrology principles and came up with a very methodical ways to analyze various aspects. He has studied 18 different fields like quantum physics, anatomy, physiology, the mantra shastra, and established linkage between these subjects and the astrological framework. He's based out of Mumbai in India, and Ojas Yoga and Wellness takes pleasure in welcoming him today to this guest lecture.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Our second guest today is Mr. Manoj Deshmukh, comes with unique background. He has been data science and analytics and AI professional in the world of corporate for last several years, a hardcore technical field, I know, and has worked for companies like Cadbury, SAS, HP, but at the same time has been pursuing his avid interest astrology through his research lens. His thesis in MBA was to study a possible correlation between principles of astrology and data science. He believes that there is a strong use case for human beings to look at astrology more neutrally, rationally, and it offers a great tool for realizing your own potential. He has taken his astrology lessons from Dr. Gesar sir for last several years. So on behalf of Otis Yoga and Wellness, I welcome you both, and I'm sure this is going to be a great session. So I hope you have your notepads ready to make notes. So now, just quick.
You will sit like this when you do oral with your legs up.
Can you please mute yourself? So before we go into the session, let me just give you a quick framework here. So I'm going to hand over to Manoj and he'll give you the introduction of this topic. And then we will have lectures by both of them. And last 15 minutes are for Q&A, question and answer. So as you get any questions along the way, please write it in chat box or send it to me personally so I can take it them while in question and answer time. Okay. So with that, I hand over to Manoj. Over to you.
Thanks, Archana. And first of all, I would like to thank personally and on behalf of both of us to get this opportunity to articulate on this subject and initiate our guest lecture series with a subject which can be of extreme importance for all of us. I just would like to give you the framework for today's session. It's going to be in 3 sections. The first one, almost 15-20 minutes, Dr. Gaisas will help us understand the premise of astrology, because we assume that most of you do not come from technical astrology background. So it will be good to understand what it truly means. Definitely, it's not going to be technical. Dr. Gaisas is known to make this subject very easy to digest. So let's understand from him what astrology means in this world of quantum physics. How is it connected to modern sciences like quantum physics, etc. He will give some examples. Next 20 minutes, I will share my experience on how did a AI professional or a data science and analytics professional who is very technically oriented land up in this particular field, and what kind of correlation did I start seeing in this field? How did I make use of it in my own personal life? And what all this actually led to personally. So I'll share my own experience. So the first session is let's call it as a premise of astrology, and second session is actually a testimonial to that particular premise. You can treat it that way. And of course, last 15 minutes, we will be very happy to take up any questions that any one of you may have. So feel free to share, put them in chat box so that Archana can monitor them and then consolidate and have them in the session at the end of it. So with this framework, let me hand it over to Dr. Gaisas to start the first part of the lecture today on what is astrology. Yeah.
Thank you, Manoj ji. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As all of you are aware that astrology is a science that deals with human future. That is the general understanding, that is a common understanding of the subject. It deals with human future. But future is one of the segments of time. We segment it into 3 parts: past, present, and future. But the segmentation, the bifurcation, is not scientific enough. So let us take an example to justify that we can convert a future element into past or even a past into future. Let us take an example. If I go to a seashore and on the eastern horizon, I am waiting for the sunrise to take place. When this sunrise actually takes place, I make a statement: sunrise is taking place, present tense. But in reality, the sunrise has taken place 9 minutes prior to that, because this sun rays have taken 9 minutes, approximately 9 minutes, to reach up to Earth. That means that something that happened 9 minutes ago, I am looking at it as a present scenario. So we conclude that this happens because of the fact that my point of observation is at a distance where this difference between past and present and future is defined. Okay, so my job is to change my point of observation so that I can convert a present or future event like a past event. I can read it, I can analyze it by changing my point of observation. But being a human being, we have enormous limitations so far as physical mobility is concerned. It is not easy for me to change the point of location, point of observation, because that is guided by my geographical location. So, in order to surmount this difficulty, I source out the work to planets. Will they be doing it for me? That is the critical question. The two features that the planets have are very useful to us. One thing is they rotate around sun constantly, not a rest for a single minute. So constantly they are rotating in the space, covering the each and every point of observation, covering each and every point of observation. One more feature in their movement is they spin around their own axis. These are the two movements which is a strong feature of planet. What happens as they keep on changing points of observation? They gather the information, they gather the cosmic waves, and through it to us, it is radiated because of the fact that the planets are rotating, spinning around themselves. It generates a centrifugal force. Let me make a little point clear here. They gather the cosmic waves not in the form of physical collection, but every moment, every point, they are getting resonant with the cosmic waves. And by getting resonant, they are throwing the resonance towards us on Earth. And that is why we can interpret the waves radiated to us, and they are collecting it, sending it to us. And because of these features, we can pass on the work to planets to gather the information from different perspectives, from different points of observation. For example, if I would like to see the sunrise at an earlier time, what I can do, I will request my friend who is in an eastern country, eastern to India. Then I will ask him to snap a photograph of the sunrise and send it to me on WhatsApp, so that the same sun I can witness sunrise earlier than the time given in India, in my location. This is a simple work, but even the person who snaps the photograph has a physical limitations, has the limitations of mobility. That is why we are hiring the services of planets who have got no limitations and they are constantly moving. Having gathered this information, the next question is, these segments does it happen on Earth? That means I am saying that we will ask them to collect the information from different angles and then I will interpret it. Does it happen on Earth? So let us take one more example. Let us consider the cricket match is going on. Cricket match is going on, and an incident has happened where the umpire on ground, who has a defined and singular point of observation, the umpire on ground is confused whether the stumping has taken place or not, whether the batsman's foot was inside the crease or outside the crease. That is, he is confused about it. What he will do, the cricket ground where the match is going on is surrounded by 5 to 6 video cameras. They keep on capturing the images, and when the umpire is confused, He will ask, first choice is he will ask the leg umpire to add his opinion because he is having a different point of observation. But even that may not be sufficient because even the leg umpire has the physical limitations, his observation limitations, his ability to witness the things with the eyesight he is having. So all limitations are carried by human beings. So he will resort to the third option, that he will refer to the third umpire. He has an advantage that he is sitting at one place, but capturing the images of number 6 video cameras, 5 video cameras, he can see them action replay. He can see them again and again, scrutinize it, make the motion slow to observe it minutely. And this sort of interpretation is the same thing that the astrologer does with the help of planets. Here, we have a much better chance of analysis. We have a much better chance of arriving at a correct decision, better than the third umpire, because at his disposal, he is having 5 video cameras, whereas astrologers have 12 cameras in the sky to help them. And that is how we gather the information. Here, one doubt you will have is that the real cameras are taking pictures in the real sense, but the planets are not capturing any photograph. Remember one thing, the photograph is only a chemical or digital transformation of the rays that are moving from one end to another. My photograph is my physical presence and the chemical conversion of the rays which travel between myself and the camera, isn't it? So the rays which travel in between are invisible. They are captured and converted. Like that, the planets get resonant with the invisible rays, and we have the tools in horoscope to interpret them just as we interpret a medical report. Medical report talks about the physicality, gets converted into the rays are converted into film. Like that, the resonance of planets with every point of observation. Here we have 12 cameras constantly moving, constantly getting in resonance with the space points which are important to us. And that is why the data collected by us as an astrologer is enormous. And hence, of course, how to interpret are the astrological rules which we learn with practice, learn out of experience, learn out of logic, learn because we attach this science, astrology, with many other sciences. The interpretation is much more clear when you have a better understanding of astrology with reference to other sciences like quantum physics or nuclear physics, like that. So what happens, because of these two tools, we get a lot of information, and then it is not only about interpreting the future, because future is nothing more than a past event, because as we said, what is future to me may be a past to somebody else. If I change the point of observation, I can convert it into past. So my understanding of past event, because it has been brought to my cognizance, I have seen it, I have observed it, I have experienced it. This can be done by outsourcing the work to planets, and they keep on giving the feedback to us. This feedback is called the horoscopic feedback. But then the question remains, how is it that the horoscope generated at the time of birth, represents these things accurately, vividly? So what happens at the time of birth, that I will let you know. When the umbilical cord is cut, the child is born, his independent existence starts. Till that time, he was surviving on the inputs by mother from mother, just as the planets are getting the vibration from the cosmos, from the space. Here, the mother was giving the inputs. But once the umbilical cord is cut, he gets a separate existence. And then he has his own purpose. And the cosmic rays which the planets are representing in the sky, he gets resonant with the planets which are at that moment moving in the space. Why it happens like that? Because the cosmic waves, cosmic radiations, they are traveling in, planets are traveling in, are pure, potent, and one more feature, devoid of any purpose. Naturally, they only represent the cosmic forces. And here, it's a replica is born. That resonant aspect is here independently taking birth. A replica is formed. And hence, at the time of birth, the position on earth in a maternity home, the birth, the process of birth, the point of birth is replicated in the sky in the form of getting resonant with the space points the planets were placed at that time. So it's a correlation in quantum physics. It is called entanglement of quantum, entanglement theory. 2 points are correlated and they must be correlated because something which is in the form of waves gets converted into particle or a physical form, physical structure, like a birth of a child. It gets converted into physical purpose, physical structure when a purpose is attached. Because in order to fulfill the purpose, the any entity must have a specific shape, specific structure to perform, to discharge the duty, to perform the purpose. And that is why exactly the vibrations in the sky, the cosmic waves in the sky, with which the planets are resonant, here the purpose is attached, the structure is formed, a child is born, and these two things are the quantum entanglements. They are the replica. One is a wave, another is a particle. One is invisible, other is visible. But they carry the same genesis. Genesis is same. Like that, the photograph of a entity and photograph carry the similarity because of the fact that the rays are translated into chemical version. Here also the same thing happens. So because of this process, we get a the date of birth, because on that day, at that time, a physical structure was generated, physical structure, and hence we get a exact physical picture of the non-physical vibrations which were present at that time, and the planets were resonant with it. Hence, the horoscope formed is an exact replica of non-visible cosmic waves which were present at that time. Hence, you get up, you develop, the child develops or gets a potential as per the time, the position in the sky of planets, he gets a potential. Then the interrelation between the planets tells him the way, the path to unfold his potential optimally. And hence, astrology is, though it sounds to be science to predict future, more than that, it is a science to shape the future. Because as you understand, as you interpret the planetary position, you understand the potential carried by the child which has taken birth just now. the potential is very clearly understood from the horoscope. Not only that, the path, the technique to use it properly, that is called karma, action. Because planets on their own will not do anything. You do something, you act, and then action fetches a reaction, and this reaction structure is given in horoscope that probably this action will fetch this reaction, probably. So that our guidance is primarily not about the future, but about the way in which you can manage future, you can optimally utilize your potential. So both ways, planets and the horoscope is guiding you. So I will request you, after my 55 years of experience, I am very much confident that this is a fascinating science. And it is very easy if you study the astrology with patience and diligence. It is very easy to discover your potential, decipher the path to unlock it and to use it optimally, and to get the blessings which you deserve. The divine forces are ready to bless you with whatever you really deserve, because you are taking efforts for them, you are acting for them, you are doing karma. So कर्म का फल तो मिलना ही है, तो इसके लिए वो you are guided from horoscope point of view, from astrology point of view. You get a clear picture where you will succeed, and you will get a very clear picture as to in which field, in spite of your lot of efforts, you may not have that much success. So why to waste time on something which fetches me only 10% success after 100% efforts? So we will recommend you the field where you will be successful financially, the field where you will be successful in education point of view or academic point of view. Then every aspect of human life is covered, and hence the planetary condition at the time of birth guides you a lot many things. And hence I will request you, all of you, to avail this facility to show some prima facie interest in studying this science, so that as you move ahead, you will have more and more fascinating things uncovering in front of you, and you will be attached to this science forever. So by saying this much theoretically, I will conclude my remarks, and now I pass on the baton to Manojji for taking us to the winning spot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and hope everybody is able to hear me clearly. Okay, with this brief introduction, because it's a science of multi dimensions. I mean, we struggle to handle even 3 dimensions. Moment we go beyond x and y axis, even the z axis can confuse us. And we are talking about at least 12 different dimensions of our life being analyzed simultaneously. My encounter with astrology. So what I'm going to do is I'll share how did I land up in this particular field 14 years back, and what is it that really fascinated me. Of course, certain personal events in life lead you to look at astrology as a last recourse. Unfortunately, that's how we always have been looking at it. We always made it a last recourse, while it should probably have been the first recourse, is what I concluded after 14 years of study. And when I started seeking certain guidance, when I tried to seek certain guidance, I recognized that the rationality of the explanation, which is required for us to meaningfully act on that guidance, was missing. And that is probably because the very principle of karma, which sir just touched upon, was not very well understood, is what I felt originally. And when I found that there is a missing link between what is being said, what is being asked to be done, and the rational explanation behind it, I decided to study it on my own. And when I started my studies to get myself analytics certification, and while studying statistical forecasting, I started finding a subtle correlation between how forecasting works in the world of analytics and how astrology depicts itself. It's all about past predicts future. Sales of the past few months predicts sales of the future few months. And that gave me an idea that okay, that astrology is also saying same thing in a way, that your past karma is actually giving you an indication of what your future is going to look like. Let's call that a baseline sales. That's what we call, right? So if I have some fundamental sales figures for last few months, I know what I'm likely to sell in next few months. But what do we do if we need to change the sales? We increase our marketing budget, right? And then we try to influence that future in a positive way, so that if I'm likely to sell only 100 as a baseline, by doing some marketing, probably I will be able to sell more, is what our premise is. So what is marketing in the astrological sense? Is all good deeds. So if probability, which is indicated by planets, that this is likely to happen, is my baseline, by performing my own karma in a framework which has been explained, I have a chance to change that baseline of future which is being indicated. So this is how I started drawing correlations. And as you all know, it's extremely difficult to know how your marketing events are fructifying in true sales, right? You know sales has gone up or down, but you exactly don't know which of your marketing activities actually led to the fructification of the sales. That correlation nobody has been able to establish. I mean, I've been doing a lot of analytic studies, but even till date, it's extremely difficult to tell if a customer bought something because there was a marketing event, or he or she would have bought it even otherwise. Likewise, your good karmas, they come to your rescue, but you exactly don't know, and you will never know which karma is actually giving you the result which you desire, right? So, which you did not desire. It works both ways. So this kind of a correlation led to a lot of interest, and I started writing some codes and tried to see if we can automate and bring repeatability to this whole set of science. And that's where when I met Dr. Gaisas, where his methods were very methodical, something that can be programmed in a way to get at least to a level of probability. uh, my research continued. We started studying, I mean, I started studying horoscopes for people who actually committed suicide, just for a case. Now, from a data science standpoint, those who committed suicides and those who did not commit suicide, both data sets were fed in. Parametrically, we decided, okay, these are the factors which astrology would have seen if they were to predict the probability of an event. And these are the factors which we would have seen where we would have predicted this will not happen. And we started running few algorithms. Of course, such algorithms requires huge amount of data, so that research still continues. But that led me to some great discovery that the very basic message that has been given in astrology is seed plus deed is equal to fruit. I think Dr. Gaisa has just touched upon the potential aspect of it. What you get in your horoscope is your latent potential. That's the potential energy. You have to add the kinetic energy of your karma to produce the work, because duality is the fundamental nature of this universe, right? If there is dark, there is light. If there is good, there is bad. If there is purush, there is prakriti. So this duality, meaning potential energy plus kinetic energy, is equal to work. So how do I look at potential from horoscope, and what is it that we need to do about our own karma? Is That's the fundamental role of an astrologer. Because let's take an example. Let's assume that if I get stone as a seed in my horoscope, if I just keep on looking at it and I don't do anything about it, that will probably become a rubble of no use. So my karma was not doing something, was my karma. Now I throw that stone on a mango tree. There's a mango in my hand now. I can eat it, I can sell it in the market. The output has changed because my karma for the same seed has changed. If I decide to sculpt out an elephant out of that same stone, I can go and sell it in the market, keep it in my showcase. So just observe that the same seed gets converted into a different fruit because you're changing your own karma. And the second most important point is your karma and the fruit are not two different entities. The karma itself is getting converted into fruit. The stone and the carved elephant, these are not two different entities at all. It is just that that stone has unfolded itself into an elephant because of the karma, because of the karmic choices that you made. So that's why there is so much of emphasis given on the karma. Astrology, as I discovered from Dr. Gaisas, has been given the status of eyes to Vedas, scriptures which Hindus consider as the fundamental belief. Eyes are your knowledge entities. In the sense, they are called Gyanendriyas, meaning they can only let you know what's happening right in front of you. Let's assume that there is a tiger right in front of you. You can see it. But for you to run, you still need to use your legs and hands. So by no means it has ever been told that this is a science which makes you just believe in destiny and do nothing. It can make you aware of certain situations, but the karmic choices are to be taken by you at that point of time, and the guidance which is required to take those karmic choices is nothing but job of an astrologer. As Dr. Gaisa said, future is nothing but reciprocation of the universe to your own karma. Meaning, your own karma is going to lead to your future. And if we want to shape it, that guidance can be provided by the seed, by the potential. Naturally, if you optimally use your potential, your output is going to be higher. But at the same time, deliberately, if you make a choice to go against the classical potential that has been bestowed on you by those cosmic forces, you still get the output. By no means it means that you are not going to get the output, but the output is going to be much lesser than the input. So by the conscious karmic choices that we make is what decides our future. And astrologer's fundamental job is to make that per karmic choice the most profound choice for the person who is seeking that particular guidance. I made a lot of choices in my life looking at this particular framework, and it can lead to significant results. And that's why I believe that more than the future, realizing your own potential to its fullest, that's the primary job which astrology can do in this age. Because situations change, things change around you, the way you think change, and at any given point of time, the kind of choices you need to make is evolving every single day. So at that point of time, having a framework like this in your pocket definitely helps you make choices in a way that will help you get maximum out of your own efforts, stay less frustrated, and at the same time accept the limitations of the potential which has been given to you. That's a reality. It's like, in India, when you make rangoli right next to your door, the kind of square that you get, whether it's a square of 5 by 5 dots or square of 6 by 6 dots, that's your potential. You can't change that potential, but what astrology can help you is how to make the best use of the potential, or that 6 by 6 or a 7 by 7 square that has been bestowed on you. And that definitely leads to better acceptance of what it means for you in life. That leads to better contentment, and contentment and complacency are two different things. Astrology doesn't make you complacent, but astrology helps you stay content in in that particular specific moment of the cosmos where you're trying to resonate with the forces which are present. So this way, I mean, the research on connecting the principles of astrology to medical, connecting the principles of astrology to industrial, that's still going on. There are trials going on using AI to see if there is a repeatability that can be brought into the way we predict. But we still haven't reached a stage where we can socially talk about that particular research. But uh, the results are encouraging in terms of what we can do. Uh, Forget about the causation aspect of it. I mean, the very fundamental question which is raised many a times is whether planets really impact human life or not. Let's keep it aside for a moment. Even if I'm able to have a correlation which is strong enough, that's still a fantastic tool for me to rely on, because as we all know, any two things in this world can be correlated. I can very much correlate the expenses which are going on the dental treatment and the sales of the laptop in the country. Those two things can be very technically correlated. Likewise, presence or an absence of a planet in a particular house and specific instance happening or not happening, even if I am statistically able to correlate and establish those premises, that still becomes a wonderful tool for us to use. Causation will be proven over a period of time as we start looking at this slightly more rationally and neutrally. And that journey is going to continue forever, I believe. So that's what my journey has been. It's been last 14 years since I have been studying this from various angles: technical angle, philosophical angle, spiritual angle. And this has always given me a very new dimension to think about in my life. So with this, I would like to conclude my part in terms of what it means from a potential realization standpoint and how do we typically use it in our life from a potential realization standpoint. So I would like to hand it over to Archana and see if there are any questions that we want to talk about now.
Thank you, Manoj and Gesa sir. It was, I think, enlightening. It was informative. I think a lot of doubts would have got clear here. So, any questions? I can just write it in chat box. I don't have any question yet. Please send your question. Okay, there's one from Sanjay. So he says that thanks for the session. It is said that life is predestined with limited free will, if I can put it like that, and our mind and thoughts work based on our preconditioning in that the direction to shape up our destiny. The astrology charts predicts what is already destined for a person. If that's the case, then what is the role of astrology to influence or change anyone's destiny as such?
Sir, you can probably comment on it.
Yes. Few parameters in human life are predestined. As you are given a particular type of personality, particular type of background, and your longevity, that means the date of death, is predestined. You cannot change it even for a single moment. But within the given limits, as Manoj said rightly, that if we have a 7 by 7 dimension square, within the square, you can play your role. And the free will should be defined as that area where you have the alternatives available to you and you decide which one to choose. Whether to sleep now or to walk is my choice. In that sense, we have a free will for virtually everything. Having committed an action, having taken an action, the responses won't be under our control. That is where the destiny starts playing a role. I may be doing my best, I may be advertising a lot, but then what will be the response from the customers? What will be the response from the nature, cosmos? That is beyond our control. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna has said, Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu gadachana. You have a free will to opt for a karma to the best of your judgment, to the best of your ability. You perform it. You have a free will for that. Having executed it, the ball goes into the field of cosmos, and then you have to wait and observe the results.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you have been given a knife whether to use it to cut the vegetable or to murder somebody, that act is decided by you using the consciousness which is acting within you. I don't think we will be able to blame that ever on the planet, because we are making that conscious choice at that point of time on how to use that particular weapon. So if we say that no, I mean, that's very decision of we doing something with that knife itself is predestined, then the role of karma will be vanished.
Mm.
Right? And role of karma can never vanish. You can't be in a karma vihina avastha even for a single moment. That's what Bhagavad Gita says. You are not allowed to do that. So, but you are born with four different or five different, ayudas, which Dr. Vesas talks about. You have body, you have mind, now sharir, man, chitta, buddhi, all these things, intellect, they have their own role to play. Ultimately, the very self that is functioning in you, right, the duality which got created, because the super consciousness is totally unaware of what's going on, right? It has no shape, it has no color, it has nothing. You, using your own judgment, vivek, satsad vivek, which we call, are making that particular karmic choice at that point of time, and that consciousness is what we call as the karmic guidance that astrology can provide you at that point of time. Now, if we tell that okay, you don't go in this direction because it is likely to be this way, and if we are making a conscious choice of doing that, then I think that's where we decide what we want as our destiny. So the seed continues to be the way it has been bestowed on you. As I said, that cannot be changed. That's a reality. While theoretically we can say everything is possible, but we all know there is restriction to manifestation of our own potential. We all know what we can do and what we cannot. So accepting that reality, how do I use these weapons, tools, which astrologers have or which planets provide? That's what we call as science of karmic guidance, rather than believing that everything is predefined, that probably this world is just functioning as if there is a remote control somewhere going on, which itself contradicts the very philosophy of the karma. This is a karma yoni, right? Nimitta yoni is the animals don't. Our cat doesn't understand that it's a cat. Only human beings understand that they are human beings. That subconsciousness is what differentiates us from the rest of the creation. So that's what we believe is the right way to look at the framework given to us.
I hope, Sanjay, you got your answers here.
Yes, definitely. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so next question we have from Sandeep. Do astrology also talk about our earlier lives and rebirth?
Yes, it very much deals with your earlier previous birth. We call it. We can even cast a horoscope of your previous birth, and that has to be there because karma is a chain. It's not an independent entity. You're right from your previous birth, not only single birth, n number of previous birth, the karma gets accumulated, which is called sanchita. That means if you get a result of a karma, that is neutralized because you performed, you got a result either positive or negative. But the karma is neutralized. But there are some karmas which remain unresponded. Unresponded karmas go into the stock of sanchita, and you carry the baggage of sanchita in this birth. In fact, because of your peculiar sanchita, because of your peculiar purpose, because of your peculiar backlog, to fulfill that backlog, to complete that purpose, you take a birth. And hence, it is a chain of previous birth, this birth, and the next birth. And astrology can tackle previous birth horoscope very scientifically and can guide you how to rectify your sanchita karma so that this birth will be smooth and maybe slightly more successful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
next question we have from Palak, and she says we can observe the difference in lifestyle, thinking, nature, and many things having same Lagna chart of twin or two people born in the same time, same place. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, Manojji,
Yeah. No, I think answer was probably the whole session. Karmic choices made by twins are different. I mean,
yes.
for the time being, let's assume, I mean, even twins don't get born right at the same moment. There is still at least a couple of minutes of difference typically. And there are technical ways to differentiate their horoscopes. We'll not get into technicalities. Come back to our karmic choices. The very same potential, when activated differently by different karma, fetches the different results. That's the answer to why twins don't land up doing exactly same thing. And coming back to the question earlier, if that was the case, the twins would have just manifested them their whole life as it is. If destiny was to have a predefined shape altogether, right? If everything was predefined and if the cosmic forces have manifested exactly similarly, twins would have been doing exactly the very same thing, very same moment. Karmic choices made by both of them, despite having a very similar set of potentials, are different. That's why the response of the universe to their choices is different, and that's why twins land up doing totally different things. And I mean, technically, there is a way to differentiate that horoscope how, but that's not our subject today. But at the level of karma itself, people make choices differently. As I mean, one uses the knife to cut the vegetables, other uses the knife to murder. You have a different future. One lands up in jail, other lands up in a hotel as a chef. So that's the way it
Yes.
actually manifests itself. And otherwise, we will never be able to explain if Panchamahabhutas have given the same potential, how are they differentiating the manifestation? Because Panchamahabhutas have no purpose of existence. They don't, it's like gravitational force. You throw a flower in the air, it comes down. You throw an atom bomb in the air, it still comes down. It has Panchamahabhutas do not have any bias towards the purpose of that entity in your life. And when nature does, because nature doesn't have a purpose of existence, as Dr. Gaisa said, they don't do anything counter logical or counterintuitive. And that's why
That's right.
twins, they land up making different choices. They react differently to the potential given to them, and that's why they fetch a different manifestation of their future. That's my conclusion out of whatever I have been able to learn so far, and with the other sir can
Yeah.
add to it.
Remember one thing, the horoscope you see in front of you, it's called a Purusha Kundali. Puru means existing, pre-existing. Puru, Shayati, that means dormant. The horoscope itself says that I am dormant and you will have to activate me by your choices. You will have to activate me by your consciousness. Conscious decisions we are taking. So, it is activated by Prakriti. Prakriti means my tendency, isn't it? It is my Prakriti to behave in a particular manner. So, Purusha is a dormant affair and it is stimulated by Prakriti. That means your actions, your thoughts, your targets, your purpose, your method of achieving that purpose, isn't it? So, every moment you are taking a decision and it is shaping your next action, it is shaping your ability to think in a positive manner. Having committed a number of mistakes, that lands you in a trouble with, in that case, a future which would have been bright collapses into a ditch. That is why at every karma you have to be careful, you have to be conscious, you have to be positive, and that will take you to step and step ahead at every moment.
Um, I hope you got your answer, Palak.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with this, actually, I have a question. So I want to know if, like, I know astrology depends on the or you can read horoscope based on the time someone is born, no child is born. But if someone doesn't know the exact time, so how does that person know their potential, maybe the destiny?
There are actually three methods to tackle his horoscope. One thing is that we can work out his time of birth depending on the query he has put. That is called Prashna Kundali. That means he says that I don't know my time of birth. He may say that I don't know even the date of birth, but the time of query is analyzed in such a manner and tallied with his past events, tallied with his past potential or past achievements. And if it tallies, the Prashna Kundali will guide you at what time he was born. That is one thing. Second, of course, it is a complicated thing. It's not easy. But then one more date available thing is that you answer the query directly from the Prashna Kundali. Don't refer to his original horoscope. That is not necessary because on few occasions the query itself is a time-bound query. That means that theft has taken place. It has nothing to do with original horoscope. It is an event, a time-bound event. So that can be tackled very easily from Prashna Kundali. And one more choice is referring to the palm, that means palmistry. One more choice is referring to the date of birth, that is called numerology. Your full name and date of birth can tell you wonderful things. And more than that, they can give you numerical remedies. You can test it, you can observe the results instantaneously. If I give you a digit called cooperation digit, if you see the digit on your mobile and then start contact with person or you start having any form of rapport, you will definitely have experience that he is cooperating with you beyond your expectations. So a number of methods are there to tackle your future, and destiny guides you that this fellow belongs to this category, so follow this method.
Okay. So Prashna Kundali is set of questions to choose
No,
choose
it's
from.
like Prashna Kundali is you assume that that question was born at the point when you asked it, basically. So
Okay.
that's a planetary position of the cosmos when you ask that question. So we believe that okay, that question is born when you ask that question, right? That's how it is. The universe manifested in your mind that you go and ask this particular question to somebody. That very manifestation is considered as a birth of an event which we can correlate because it has manifested in your particular case, right? In your mind. So your mind is attached to that specific event which got born. That's why that horoscope, it's called Prashna Kundali, meaning when you ask the question, you consider it as like a child of this particular cosmos, which is manifested temporarily to guide you on that particular question. And that's why. So typically questions which are not related to someone's own horoscope directly, the theft has happened and a particular incident has happened, which is more of a cosmic event that we need to analyze because there are multiple parties involved in that rather than it's an individual karma that we need to get into details of. So specific questions can be answered, but of course some complicated calculations can be made. It's like reverse engineering. Now looking at the instances even happening in your life, we can go back and correlate, okay, if this has happened means okay, it's highly likely that you were born between this time and that time on a particular day, something of that sort. It's still going to be an approximate method.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for explanation. Thank you. So we have one more question. If you have, I think we can take two more questions if anything comes up meanwhile. So the next question is any quick tip which astrology shares for instant stress management. I think everybody needs this.
Monachi, you will be able to answer it better.
Learn astrology.
Stress management.
best stress management is learn astrology is the best way to manage stress. And I'm not kidding because um, once you come to terms with what you have been bestowed on as your potential, a lot more stress disappears. It's a very science which leads you to state of acceptance. And the very genesis of stress is from the rejection of the reality which is manifested. Doesn't matter whether it's career, whether it's your relationships, whether it's anything else, health. The very sense of not coming in resonance with what has happened, that leads to stress. And how to convert that negative resonance into a positive outcome for future is what astrology teaches you. So my answer to that is learn this science. It's very necessary that people who we should not leave this particular science to those who chose this to do because they could not do anything else. We have to have somebody has to start making conscious choice. Those who have done something great in life, those who have been already been blessed by goddess Saraswati with some great number of neurons activated in the brain, they should start looking at it and rationally think about it, neutrally look at it and understand, because the very debate of whether it's working, whether it's not working cannot happen today, because most of the people have made choices of astrology as a career because they could not do anything else. We have very less people like Dr. Gaisas, who decided to pursue this, and number of researches and papers he has published and international lectures he has provided. We don't find too many people, and that's why sometimes it's very difficult even to argue constructively. So my earnest request is take charge of your life. Forget about you becoming an astrologer or not. It's not this that will lead to increased stress in your life, to be very honest. But if you learn astrology to take charge of your own life, I think that itself will be a phenomenal thing for you to manage your life in a very balanced way. Sir, any comments from your side?
Astrology actually gives you confidence that the issue or the problem which has given you stress is not something out of sky. It has some foundation in the form of some sort of problem. And astrology gives you confidence that virtually any problem can be tackled rather easily, rather urgently and quickly, so that your stress is reduced, because you know that you have the tools available to tackle your basic problem out of which you are getting a stress, isn't it? And so far as psychological part is concerned, what happens actually, the problem is of 10% and you add the imaginative factors as to this will happen, then that will happen. Who has permitted you to imagine beyond a practical problem? You take it on the table, solve it, so that don't imagine too much. Don't react to your first negative thought. Let it be there. But first negative thought should not be given a scope by thinking over it again and again. Imagination should be used to find out a solution rather than to inflate the problem itself.
Hey, I hope you got your answer. So I think if you want to learn how to use astrology for your, for personal use or maybe understanding, I think you can contact Manoj and Dr. Gelsas. So you will get a lot of, maybe you have course or I don't know, but you can, connect with them. So I have one question. Maybe you can answer it in a short way. I know we are over time. So my question is, as you mentioned that it is astrology tells us our potential. Do you also give advice on what actions one can take to reach to that potential? Or it's like that person has to find out?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No, actually, that is a routine job. Astrology is meant for that only. Actually, astrology is not meant to discourage you that you are not fit to do this. Astrology is to make you aware that here you are much better suited, so that don't waste your energy and time in something for which you may not be that much suitable. That means the potential is optimally utilized in two areas where you have a genetical ability to perform it. That is one thing which can be better understood from horoscope rather than the person himself. And one more thing is that you should have the temperament and you should have the liking for the subject. And if you add your temperament with the potential you have inherited from horoscope genetically, that gives you wonderful results. So we say that if at all you have to take efforts, why not in a direction where you are likely to get much more results than the other one? That is the only choice. And this is the routine practice in astrology. So whether we tell them to use it optimally, yes, that is our routine job. Every day, every horoscope, same guidance is given.
Okay, thank you. So if there are no more questions, I think we can close the session. So I would really want to thank from bottom of my heart that this is a very, very, I think, insightful session from both of you, Dr. Gesa sir and Manoj. Thank you so much for coming and giving this insightful session to all of us. So if anybody has any more question or any personal question you want to ask or get information on, you can connect with them. Maybe we can just send information on all to everyone through email about their personal details, so they can reach out to them. And thank you so much. So we have our next session next month on 29th of August. Let me just quickly share the poster here, the topic here. I hope you can see. Can you all see? Yeah. So it's about spine care and yoga therapy. So I'm going to send again, maybe you'll get in the information on this topic. So with that, I would like to thank you everyone joining this session on Saturday afternoon. I hope you got some questions, got some answers, got some insights from this session. Thank you everyone, and have a good day and have a good weekend.
Thank you, Archana, for providing this opportunity. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.